Hey guys, well, I'm doing this blog just to let everybody know the story of what happened last Wednesday with my friend George and his life changing event. Well, I was barely getting out of my chemistry class and I was walking with my friend A-Rod. Upon getting outside, I found George just standing right there. And he all of a sudden just asked me, "Hey, I need you to do me a favor." But knowing how George is, I thought it was like, hey, chuputombolis. I thought that was gonna be his favorite or something like. So I just went with it. And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. Just ask me. And he said, I need you to ask a guy in the bookstore if his name is Mike Flores. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, because he think it's my brother. And I was like, what? And then all of a sudden he's just like, yeah, I think he's my brother. Remember I told you that I had a brother I hadn't talked to in like 12 years? And I was like, oh, wait, all right. Well, I was like, no, pues, what do you want me to do? And he's like, oh, well, just ask him. And I was like, okay, let me make a plan. So what I did was, as my friend A-Rod, I was like, hey, let's go to the bookstore. Let's pretend your name is Mike, and then we'll ask. Well, I'll ask you something. I'll yell Mike, and if a guy turns around, well, pues, then it might be him, and then I will be asking. So me and my friend A-Rod decided to do that thing, and George waited outside the bookstore. So when we were inside, supposedly I was buying some Fritos, and then I yelled, "Hey Mike, what do you want?" But when I yelled that, nobody turned. There was a guy at the register, but nah, he didn't pay attention. So I was like, nah, nobody hears Mike. So I was like, nah, he probably just thought somebody looked like his brother, but probably not. It's like it's been 12 years, so how are you gonna know who it is? So after that, I just like was walking outside with my friend A-Rod about to tell George. Pero like something stopped me and made me stare at the guy at the register. And well, I saw something that I had this feeling when I saw him. I've seen George's dad before, and like all of a sudden I saw George's dad's face on that guy, and I was like, oh my god, maybe it is real. So what happened is that I went to George and I was about to tell him, nah, I don't think it's him. Pero something told me, no, go back and ask. So I decided to go. When I went, I was like, hey, can I ask you a personal question? He was like, and then, but he never told me, so I just went with it. I was like, are you related to the Flores family? And he's like, oh, my last name is Flores. And I was like, it's because you look got you by like one of my friends. And he's like, oh, really? And I was like, yeah, you look a lot like him. And he's like, oh, right. He said, well, yeah, my name is Flores. And I was like, well, are you Mike Flores? Because I know Mike Flores. And he's like, yeah, my name is Mike. He's like, my middle name's Mike. And he's like, all weirded out because he was like, oh my God, this guy's here to kill me or something. And then I was like, thanks, man. I'll tell my friend that you look a lot like him. And then, well, I went outside and I told George, yeah, it is him. And I saw his expression. Nobody has ever seen that expression on George. It's like a face of a retard, a nervous guy, and a scared guy at the same time. Nobody has ever seen that on George. So obviously that was like a first time for me. So after I told him that, he was like, "No, what should I do? What should I do?" And I was like, "Well, you gotta talk to him if he's your brother." And then George said, "Well, he hates my guts. So what if he doesn't want to talk to me?" And I was like, "Hey, you never know." So we were debating right there outside, and Juan came all of a sudden and asked, "Is it him?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's him." So we were there, but George didn't want to do anything. So what happened next is unbelievable. Miller, our high school teacher, government teacher, and U.S. history teacher, walked by, and well, we started talking to him, and George asked him, "So, Miller, I hate your guts, you hate my guts. So I say this with total respect. Could you please help me out? I have something to ask you." Normally, Miller make like a joke, like, "Yeah, what you're still undecided about your sexuality?" And George was like, "No, no, this is serious." And I was like, "Yes, sir, it's serious." So Miller was like, "Shoot me." So George asked him, "Should I talk to my brother? I just found out I am my brother." And Miller was like, dude, you gotta do whatever you think is right. You're gonna have to talk to him eventually. So guess what? Miller's not out of our lives yet. He's still controlling part of our lives. So that's something Miller did. He was like, we got advice from Miller again. We didn't pay attention to him in high school, and then we get advice from him in college when he's not our teacher. That's kind of crazy. So after like 30 minutes of debating, George finally decided to go and talk to his brother. So I was sitting outside of the bookstore still waiting. And when George left, I was like, don't worry, dog, I'll be praying for you. So I started to pray for like 5 minutes. And after those 5 minutes, I was like, nah, I should stop praying right about now because if he's still talking to his brother, it means it went okay. So all of a sudden, Juan came and Jesus came. So we went to sit at a table. And like about an hour had passed and they were still talking. So they talked for a long time. I was like, nah, but then it's going good. We were all happy for him. After a while, Odile and Heriberto came and they were sitting with us, and they were just like right there, just talking to us, and we were still waiting for George. I was supposedly gonna leave after I asked his brother, but I still wanted to know what happened. I was gonna be like, hey, so what was the first thing you told him, and what was the first thing he told you? So I was very curious about that, and I had to ask. So I waited. So like an hour and 20 minutes passed, and finally George comes back, all happy and like all giddy, like a little kid, and I was saying, "Okay, we had fun. He's like me. He likes this and he likes that." So I was like, "Yeah, that's cool." So that's the story. It's not all about like just saying, "Whoa, he found that," but like me, I made somebody find their long lost brother. And so it was all for me. It was real cool. It's now I can say, hey, I found somebody's brother, lost brother, or something like that. It's like, hey, I got two brothers back together because I asked the guy, is your name Mike Florence? He's like, yeah, all scared. So that was very interesting for me. That's like a story I'm gonna tell people for a long time. So I hope you like the story, guys. I hope you're not bored. Like it's been like almost 8 minutes. So I don't know. I don't care if you're still watching. Pero this is a Chicky Bomb Bomb Productions. Laters.